Hello everybody and welcome to English 1022, also called Comp 2, also called the research class, at least by me. So this first video is going to be me saying just a little bit about the class and walking you through D2L and what it'll look like, where you'll be able to find everything. And the short answer is the home page. As soon as this video is done, that's me with shorter hair, me now, this video will be replaced by this one. This class is online, which is really nice because you can do this from home. It can be harder because there's no class time for you to actually show up, be in the seat with your work done or not done. So one of the things that I've set up is there will be 2 due dates every week. So Thursday, there'll always be something due. Monday, there'll always be something to do, right? It's easy to fall behind when there's no being online. As hell, it's easy to fall behind in a regular class. But when it comes to writing, it's not something you can wait till week 15 and do. So hopefully by having 2 due dates, that will keep you moving and on track. Right? So this is our home page, right? And I actually have this set up as student mode. So what I'm seeing here should be exactly what you see. Now, if you're ever lost, you can hit course home, and that's going to take you right back to our course home, right? Let me pause this for a second. I just wanted to make sure it works in student mode. So when you log into D2L the first time, this is the home page that you're going to get, right? And you'll want to scroll down and you can see my courses, right? So it'll probably be set up for spring 2020, but if not, just click around until you get to that, right? So our class is gonna be somewhere in here, and when you click on it, it'll take you there. The other thing that's really valuable to do, and you can do it right from that spot, is click up this box up here, find us, and pin it. When you press this pin button, you can see these are not pinned. It'll always show up right at the top. And then that way, you don't have to go to the home screen. You just go up here, boom, 1022, boom, click it, and you can get there quickly. Okay, materials. This is where you're going to go if you want to go look and find your content. I have everything that you need on our homepage, right? But say we're a couple weeks along and you're looking for something that was older, you could scroll through all of our home pages or go to content, and here where you have week 1 all the way through week 16. And each one of these, for those of you who want to see what's going on, you can click in and here's all the homework every week, our whole schedule. So this also serves as our schedule for the semester. This is by week, and then at the very bottom, I've got a couple extra things. You don't really have to worry about it though, because in our homepage, when I want you to read something or get to it, there'll be a blue link. If I want you to go to the discussion, there'll be a blue link, right? So basically, heck, if I want you to email me, blue link. Turn something in, blue link. Another way to think about it is, if it's blue, I have to do something with it. Right? Now, where you might go is checking grades. So when you go to assessment and then grades, this will show what you're at. If there's a dash, it means it hasn't been assigned or it hasn't been graded. Once you see a score there from a 0 to a 10, you know I got it. I graded it. And it'll show you right where you're at. So academic participation in daily work is 50% of your grade. Your major papers are 40% of your grade, and your final project is 10%. So you can actually add everything up. If you know you're getting, say we've done a bunch of assignments and you're at 40 out of 50. Right, then you can just add up, okay, where are we at my main papers? Oh, I did really well in the first one. I'm at 35 out of 40. You can add that up, and now you know, hey, I'm at 75 out of 90. If you're following along, that's just adding the 50 and the 10. But you can, I'm sorry, the 50 and the 40. If you're not a math person, that might have been a little bit confusing, but the main thing is this. Your grades are here. You can always see what you're doing. And if you want to see where you are for the whole class, you just add up these numbers right here, the big categories, out of 40, out of 50, and out of 10. And that will give you a very good, you'll be like, hey, that's where I am in the class. Now, when it comes to assignments, I'll have everything. This is what's due Thursday, that part. Here's what's due Monday, that part. So number one, our homepage tells you when stuff is due. And as a backup, whenever we have a calendar, so here's the month of January, and right now you can see 2 blue dots. That means there's something due that day and there's something due that day. The arrow down means show it. To the side, it means it's smaller. And check out this, upcoming events. The 16th, which is Thursday, look, you have to picture and favorite quote post. Picture and favorite quote. So that's saying that's due on the 16th. Then the stuff that's due Monday is right there. So you have 2 different places saying, hey, this is when it's due, homepage, right in there. And every assignment that shows up on our homepage will show up in the calendar. I have some future ones to put up in there, but always for the week coming up, the due dates will be there, so you'll have 2 places to look at them. All right. So, course home, materials. Oh, when it comes to communication, you can send me an email, right? And this will actually tell you once you have discussions if there's anybody who's responded to you. So you'll see little notifications up there. We'll say more about that later. So when it comes to getting things from D2L, so for example, I'm going to go to our syllabus. I just click on it. It takes us here, and I'm not sure why, but you'll notice it looks goofy. It almost always looks goofy in this format. So whenever you see a document and you come here, immediately scroll down and hit the download button, because the download button, and actually it's a little bit lower, you can see this, it'll show up. The download button will bring it up as a Word document, right? Which is really nice because now you see it exactly how it's supposed to be. So here's our syllabus, right? Contact information. This is the part that says, hey, when you send me an email, make sure you put English 1021 in the subject line of all of them, right? These are my office hours. I can also meet you at different times. I have a teacher Skype account that I use sometimes if people want to do video conferences. We can do phone call, but other ways to talk. The 2 books that we have are The Righteous Mind by Jonathan Haidt, and that would be this one right here. It's a little bit thicker, but it's a good read, and it's written for anybody, right? Which is really nice. And I picked this book because, one, it shows you his academic or research journey, right? He had these ideas. Sometimes his teacher said, no, that's a terrible idea. And it wasn't. Sometimes they supported them. So you'll get to see what it really looks like to explore an idea, because not everybody's going to say, yay, keep going, right? Not everybody's going to say, yay, you're right. Sometimes they're going to say you're wrong. And they're wrong. And sometimes they're going to say you're wrong or you're inaccurate, and they're right, right? And it's going to be up to you as a scholar, which since you're going to school you are, right, to decide, hey, when you're on the right track and when you're not. And hopefully by the end of this class, you'll have improved your skills on finding research and support and looking at your arguments. I like The Righteous Mind because he doesn't take sides. He is looking, and he will even say, this is what liberals get right. This is what conservatives get right. This is what libertarians get right. And by get right, he means, and I mean, for society to function well, right? So he's not a person who takes sides. And it'll be interesting. I hope you enjoy it. You're actually going to read chapter 12 this week, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. So here is The Righteous Mind. And then the next book is This Way for the Gas, ladies and gentlemen. It's much shorter. This is one cover. It's been in a lot of different print versions. There's different covers. As long as you've got Tadeusz Borowski and This Way for the Gas, ladies and gentlemen, you got the right book. So those are the 2 books that we have. syllabi, right, these things, they can be boring, just kind of how they're set up, right? But that being said, it's still our contract. You need to read this. And as you're reading it, if something doesn't make sense, right, make a note and then ask me or put in the discussion, right, what's going on here so you can get clarity about what's going on. Right? What are we going to do in this class? I mean, basically, we're going to uh, read two different textbooks, right? Look at different ways of looking at stories. We're going to do that with This Way for the Gas. And then we're going to use the Righteous Mind book, using what he does about research and how there's different ways of looking at things. And we're going to turn that practice into a topic you pick. So for the last big paper, you get to decide the topic. The course will shape how you look at it. And we'll talk more about that when we get to that paper. So read this. I've got an activity, a note. I'm sorry, not an activity. Note for the anxious in here. Class activities, what it goes through. Right, some interesting quotes. Tough love section. Here's the grading, which I've talked about a little bit. Here's on quality, something that I took from another teacher. So I gave that teacher credit, right? Because in this class, if the idea isn't yours, and really in scholarship, if the idea isn't yours, you can use it, but you have to give that person credit, right? So here's how grades are set up. Note for PSEO students or anybody who thinks I absolutely must get a certain grade in this class, make darn sure you read this one. Online for attendance and the more stuff. I want you to read the whole thing, right? Some of this, and I even put it in smaller print, this section is mandatory to be in, and it's good, and 3 of you will find it valuable. 25 of you will be like, but I don't know which 3 are going to find it valuable. So I want you all to read it and see if there's anything in there that pertains to you. Okay, so that is the syllabus, right? Complete with my dog. Get down here. Okay, and remember, whenever you get to a document, hit the download button, and you can also, there's a download behind my face right there. That's also download. Back to course home. So I want you to read the syllabus, then do an introductory post. And when you see it's blue, you got to do something with it, right? This is due by Thursday. You click on this. Make sure, this is an English class, right? A writing class, that you read all of the directions. So if I ask for 4 things, make sure you do all 4 things, right? So you're going to do a post. You're going to put in a picture. That's me with my family, right? 3 pieces of information of yourself, one of which is a lie, right? And I'll show you an example of that. That's for us, right, to start to get to know each other. If for whatever reason you don't want to put a picture of yourself, put a picture that represents you, right? But I definitely want something so we have an idea, right, of something besides just student QF 2246 GT HUT. Now, when it comes to what you've read, right, what's the most important thing in the syllabus? Explain why. So when you read all that stuff, what did you care about, right? And then which quote from the syllabus, you'll notice there's a lot of different quotes, usually in little boxes. Which one did you like and why? So that's what I want you to put in your post. And then I want you to respond to at least 3 others. So that gets a conversation going. Your first post, 150 words. Minimum, you can go over. And then your responses should be 50 words or more, which means you don't want to say, yes, I think you're right, and then be done, right? You can say, yes, I think you're right, but then give some reasoning behind it. What about your experience, or what do you know that makes you think that they're right, right? So we start getting the idea of really writing in at least paragraphs, so your ideas are fleshed out. Now here's an example. So there's my picture, right? Here's me. It's from Yellowstone. 2 truths and a lie. I've traveled to all 48 contiguous states. I visited Cuba and brought back Cuban cigars. I went into the Army after high school and was in military intelligence. So one of these is a lie. The rest are true. And then, of course, if I was doing more of this, I would go and answer 3 and 4. So that is the homework for Thursday. Now, knowing here, there's a couple more things that are going to be due on Monday. Oh, here's the homework for Monday. And this is actually a video about scanning, right? If you see short hair, that means, hey, I was going to tell you the exact same thing, so we're reusing a video that just covers basic content that hasn't changed, right? Whereas the introduction, right, you're a new group of students. I've made a few changes to the website. Mostly you're going to see long hair Steve, not short hair Steve. Here's what you have to read. This is about scanning, right? Because you need to follow these directions when you write me an email. So you want to make sure that you don't just read through it and don't remember anything. So there's a little video on that. Oftentimes, I'll have a video set up before an assignment. Make sure to watch the video so you can see what's going on, and that's where I'll explain the assignment. So you'll read the article, right? Then I want you to send me an email that includes all of these things, and you can just click on my name. That'll pop up the email, and follow all the guidelines, both from this and the syllabus, about how to send emails. And then the last thing is to read chapter 12. Now we're jumping ahead, and once you read chapter 12, you'll see why. It makes sense, and I want to start us off right from the beginning. Is we have a class, 28 people, all kinds of different views. Some of you are religious, awesome. Some of you aren't, awesome. Some of you are like, awesome. It doesn't matter, right? We're going to have some conservative people in here, great. We're going to have some liberal people in here, great. We're going to have half the class saying, I don't identify as conservative or liberal, great. The one thing we need to do is just be respectful when we talk about our ideas. And I know sometimes it can be scary to, well, what if I put my faith out there and people mock me? Well, if people are disrespectful, that's where I step in, right? Now, what if I share that I don't believe in God and people mock me? Same damn deal, right? Not cool. Now, either way, that doesn't mean you can't say, oh, you believe in your faith is important. I can see that. But to me, I don't believe, because here's what I think about it. And that's very different. Me saying, here's what I think, is much more different than you're wrong, here's why. Right? So we don't need to get into the here's why somebody's wrong. It's like, here's what my thoughts are. Unless we start moving into things where there are actually facts that are being used, and if they're being used incorrectly, right? Like say somebody says, well, only poor people join the army. It's a backdoor draft, right? Well, that's just not true, right? Typically, people in the Army are middle class and lower class, right? But there's a ton of middle class, and basically the biggest indicator of whether you're going to go into the military or not is if somebody in your family or in your community did. That's what shapes it. But there's an idea out there, right, that they call it a backdoor draft because only poor people go into the Army. It's not true, but the people who say that like to think it is. And it backs up some of their ideas, but it's silly, it's incorrect. And that's something where if somebody said this, here's how you can tell we're in academia, right, in school. This one, you can't just say, no, you're wrong. You got to bring in, here's the link, here's where the source comes. Because I don't know if you know Alex Jones, but if you want to have some fun, right? Watch them on YouTube and you'll find out how it's crazy. If somebody's using Alex Jones for a resource, right, and say, well, Alex Jones said the water is being whatever to turn us all gay. Not that once in a while Alex Jones won't say something that's true or that's accurate. It's just he says so much that's crazy, you can't just say that's my source, right? So if you like Alex Jones, keep liking him. Just know that a lot of what he says wouldn't stand up to 30 seconds worth of research. Some pieces do, right? Okay. Read chapter 12. Now, you may not have bought the book, right, yet. You'll need it, but for right now, you click on it, and I have a PDF of chapter 12 for you. Legally, I can have a couple chapters, and then it becomes illegal. So what I'm doing now is legal. Here's the chapter. Print it out. Don't read it from here. Print it out. The tree was probably evil that you're going to turn into a book. But that way, when you read this, I want you to start taking notes when you read. Make personal connections. If something comes up that you relate to, hey, that's my uncle, that's my aunt, put that down, or I did this, right? Mini summaries are very helpful for keeping track of what's going on. So I like to put on the left side a mini summary. Oh, look, this paragraph was about this. On the right side, I'll put connections. And also, if you have questions, write them right there on the text. That way you can say, hey, Steve, I was on page 292 and I didn't understand when this happened, right? That's much more effective than saying, hey, Steve, I didn't understand chapter 12, because most likely there were parts you understood, right, at a bare minimum, and some pieces were confusing. So as you read, mark it up. Right? Okay, so typically when we read, there's going to be some sort of response that you do, so you're doing something with material. Because if you read it and we do nothing with it, your brain doesn't connect it to much, and slowly that information just disappears, sort of how the brain works. But if you read it, if you write in it, take some notes, then do a discussion and start talking to people about it, then your brain actually makes connections between that idea and other ideas. The more connections your brain makes, right, the stronger that information gets locked into your memory. That's super brief, but that's actually a good chunk of how the brain works, right? That's why if you do something, practice doesn't make you perfect, but it makes you consistent. That's why if you practice something poorly, you'll keep doing it poorly forever, because you've trained yourself to do it poorly, right? But it also means, hey, if you practice well, right, you can get yourself to do things, right, at a higher level. So after you've read it, then I want you to, and this will be due for Monday, right, post here. And again, if it's blue, you got something to do. What are your first thoughts on chapter 12? What sticks out for you? What challenges you? What supports your beliefs? Those are all things that you could write about. Now, knowing that this is what you have to write about, as you're reading chapter 12, why not mark something that challenges you, or everything that challenges you, right? Or what sticks out. That way, when it comes time to post, you're not like going, oh, what did I read? You're like, oh, nope, here it is, boom, boom, and you'll have plenty to write about. What group or groups do you find easy to listen to and agree with? What groups do you find hard to, right? And then what do you think after you've read chapter 12, right? And there's a lot of good information in there. What do you think happens when you just block out entire groups? What might you be missing by that? When it comes to posting, you'll just start a new thread, right? And my chapter 12 response, right? And took me 3 tries to get response right, but this is an English class, so I'm not looking for perfect, but I'm definitely looking for mostly correct, right? So we can read it and we don't get distracted by grammar errors or what's going on. So I might blah, blah, blah. I answer all these questions, and maybe like each one gets its own short paragraph. Then I scroll down and I post. Now I've got my first post done. I have to respond. I have to read at least 5 and respond to 3. So that means now here's the list, and I can say, click on that. Now I can reply to the thread, right? So I need to do 3 responses, 3 replies. I click on reply and say, I know it's Steve. Hi, Steve. Your text is gibberish. Are you okay? Oh, but you know what? That's not 50 words, right? So maybe I don't want to respond to this one because there's not a lot to say. Or maybe I'll have to go, I had a problem with technology, with posting, and here's what I did. And then I can explain it and get to my 50 words. That's not fluff. It's not just some crap thrown in that might actually help out this guy who clearly has issues. And then I always hit post, otherwise it's going to disappear. Going back to the home page. That's everything, right? And as soon as this is done, I'm going to switch out these videos. So this one will now be there, right? Homework's posted. The discussion, you're going to start meeting other students. I'll be in on that too. Oh, and I almost forgot. When we do go to the discussion and I went to communication discussion, I'm going to have things by the week, right? So week 1, here's where this discussion takes place, right? You can see that was the first post. Here's the second post. Here's going to be things on the righteous mind. And I'm going to reorder this because this was set up for last semester. But here we go. In this class, right, you have a tutor, Hillary. She's taken this class before. She did really well, and she's very personable. So she's smart and personable. And this is going to be somebody who will have a couple assignments where you actually talk to her, show you what you're doing, and you can ask me questions, right? And you can also have questions for her. I know sometimes it's easier to talk to a fellow student, right? Somebody's been in here. So, and that was her post from last semester. We'll see if she puts in something new, right? There's another resource. I'm going to move her to the very top of the discussion. And there's also going to be a spot where you can post questions for me. Now, the last thing on this, if you put a discussion here, everybody can see it. So if you ask me a question here, everybody's seen it. So say you got something personal coming up and you don't want it, it's nobody else's business. Then send me an email. That way you know it's just us and nobody else will see it. Okay. I think that should do it. I will have another video coming up on Friday, the Friday update. Sometimes it shows up on Thursday, but just to check in, see how people are doing, and give you a little feedback on the discussion that you did. Welcome to 1022. My name's Steve Anderson, and I'm very glad you are in this class. Let me know if you got any sort of questions now or throughout this semester, because I take my job seriously, and my job is to help you become stronger writers, right? And if you do the assignments that I have set up for you over the next 16 weeks, you will, without a doubt, be a stronger writer at the end of the semester than you are at the beginning.